This is not how we color correct. Let's finally talk about this. This is not how we color correct. The colors are wrong, the positioning is wrong, the amount is wrong, everything is wrong. So how do we effectively color correct so it doesn't make doing our makeup more difficult? We're going to talk about it. But I do just want to start by saying not everyone has to color correct, right? You may have a little bit of darkness under the eye. It doesn't necessarily need color correction. You may have redness on the cheeks. It doesn't necessarily need color correction. So I'm going to leave this here just as a little, what's it called? A little comparison. I thought I would make this video because MUA sent me some of their color correctors and brighteners and some incredible products for under the eye. So I wanted to use them. And because I have majority of the colors here, I wanted to show you, I wanted to talk through how to use them because this is a good selection of color. Let's talk about the main thing that everybody wants to correct under the eyes. If this is your first time here, my name is Robert. I'm a professional makeup artist here on YouTube. Also in real life, and it's my goal to help you become a pro yourself, or just someone who's really good at makeup and who knows what they're talking about and who isn't sucked in by online trends or visuals that make for good entertainment. Because when you're doing your makeup at home, you're not trying to entertain anyone, just yourself. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you find it helpful. Let's talk about under the eyes, right? The main kind of color people experience under the eyes is a bluish, purple or grey tone, depending on the depth and deepness of the skin. Now, if you're very fair, if you have very light skin, you may be experiencing more redness. It may look more red in here, red in here. That's when you are, I'm just going to dive straight into it, by the way, there's no faffing around here. That's when you're going to take a green or a yellow tone. One thing you'll find a lot of the time is some concealers might just be absolutely fine. You don't need to go for a color corrector because yellow is an undertone that occurs in skin tone products, right? Your concealer, your foundation, there is a yellow undertone. So you may need a little bit of that. As you get a little bit deeper, a medium skin tone, a medium deep, and then a deeper skin tone, you need to go darker in your color corrector. And it also depends on the depth and deepness of the discoloration or the grayness or whatever under the eye. So you have a few options here. If you think that your under eye darkness or whatever isn't that dark, but you just need a little bit of color correcting, go for a concealer that has a peachy undertone. Something that may be a little bit peachy compared to your skin tone, and put that under the eye. It may look a little bit orange on your skin, but we all know orange color corrects. Do you always need a tone like this? Absolutely not. You need a tone like this when the darkness under your eye gets a lot darker. That's when you're going to go orange. The darker it is, the more you need to warm it up. The deeper your skin tone is, the more you need to warm it up. So that's when you head to this orange or you head to this red. On my skin tone, I do not need orange. I do not need red. So I'm going to go in with a peach tone. This is peach medium. And I'm going to focus this kind of more, you see under my eyes where it's kind of like this browny discolored tone. You don't even need that much. I don't even know why I did that. You don't even need to cover the whole under eye. In fact, I would remove half of that and use about that much. I'm going to push that product into place. Now here's the deal with color correction. We don't want it to hang around on the skin and look like this while we're putting on our concealer or our foundation. What I love to do with color corrector is make sure that it neutralizes the under eye to a point where it's actually almost blending in with my skin tone. So I'm correcting the under eye, not just to completely lose the discoloration, but to neutralize it to a point where it's equal to my skin tone here. Does that make sense? I sometimes just talk and talk and talk. So I'm not going to let that sit. Now, if I was to use an orange, I'm just going to show you because I don't need the orange, but let me just show you what I mean. I'm going to use a tiny bit. And I want you to think of color correcting as tinting the discoloration on your skin. You are adding tiny layers of color until it looks like skin. I always think of color correcting, ideally, you want it to be blended in and you want it to neutralize the skin so much that you could walk out the house having just color corrected. We don't want this clown-like color correction on our face. So I'm going to blend in that orange. Obviously, orange is too dark for me. I wouldn't use it on my face. But can you see how it's an orange color correction? Now, it has made my under eyes look darker because it's too dark. but we haven't left it like this and then packed concealer on top. That's not what we want to do. We want to tint the skin, sorry. We want to tint the skin with that color. You can absolutely make your under eyes a little bit darker to then brighten them. For example, like this is no big issue. I put the orange on and yes, it doesn't look right, but we can then go in with our concealer or our brightener and then make that under eye brighter. So this is the Pro Base Double Shot Under Eye Brightener from MUA Academy. This isn't an ad for them, by the way. They just sent me all this stuff and I was like, amazing, great. I could use that for a video. So I'm just going to touch that under the eye. And I'm going to use this as like my concealer shade. Because again, if we look at their shades that they have, there's two here, for example. They do a dark one. This is lighter. This is almost my skin tone. So it's not going to brighten my skin tone. It's just going to be equal to. And then this is lighter. So we'll use that to brighten my eyes. So this is my concealer. We're going over that color corrector. And then we can go with our brighter shade to make our under eyes look brighter. So the color correction is to neutralize and even out the under eye, right? It's to neutralize any darkness, fade it out, make it disappear. There you go, a nice bright under eye with slight color correction. So what I see a lot of people do is they'll blend this color corrector in so it looks like this, right? So it's kind of pushed into the skin. They'll blend in the green, which we'll come back to a little bit later. They'll then go in with their foundation, which they need to apply across the whole area here. So you're going to need like quite a few layers. Because now what you're trying to do is color correct the orange. You're trying to make sure that the orange doesn't show through. And now even if I go in with like a full coverage concealer, we're going to start to get cakiness. We're going to start to get this full coverage mess. And I'll show you it on my phone camera because it's going to look kind of like smooth and everything on the camera, but in real life it's not going to be great. So we've had to put on loads and loads of product. So we've had to put on a whole load of product and you can see it's kind of like sitting cakey under the eye. Whereas this side is a lot smoother. It's neutral to my skin. We can brighten this a little bit more if we wanted to. Green on the skin. There's a lot of products out there that kind of green up your skin and neutralize it. But the trick is with these, I really like this color because it's more of a deeper green. It's more like a khaki green instead of like full bright green. So we're going to start off with a tiny bit in the areas that are the reddest. So for me, it's on my cheek and around my nose. And again, the trick is for it to be so blended and so pushed into our skin that it is part of our skin. We are making a neutral base for our foundation or for whatever we want to put underneath. I'm going to do a bit of green on any blemishes. And remember, this isn't a full coverage concealer situation. So say we want to cover a blemish that's red, we're still going to see it a little bit. But with the neutralization of this green and then also using our foundation, it's going to be a lot easier to cover with a lot less product. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take off this side so you can see the neutralness of this compared to my face without anything on. So after good color correction, your face should be looking like this instead of this. This is no foundation, nothing like that yet. So let's do a little bit of our liquid foundation. You see, I could leave the house like this. Do I look a little bit pale? Yes. But we're not splotchy. We haven't got like random chunks of like color corrector on our face. We've just made a neutral base for whatever liquid we are using. Now, if you have, and this still goes for the rest of the face. If you're color correcting around your mouth, you still want to make sure that everything is blended in. So much so that it becomes part of your skin. Somebody did comment the other week and it was like, sorry to sound like stupid, but what does making something become part of your skin mean? And it's not a stupid question at all because it's something makeup artists say, but it's kind of like, well, what do you mean part of, what does that even mean? It just means that your makeup is so blended and so pushed like this into the skin, so it's sitting there. It isn't like an extra layer on top of your skin. It feels lightweight, even if you're wearing full coverage. It feels like it is your skin. So this is with our foundation. I'm actually going to just lighten up a little bit more now that our base is all down and neutral. In terms of colors, I really like this. I really like this color range because when you actually look at really professional color correcting palettes, concealers, you don't necessarily get bright green, bright yellow, and bright purples. They're kind of a little bit more of a washed out version, right? Whereas a lot of brands have decided to release these almost like face paint-esque color correctors when color correction became a trend. Now, it's not a trend, of course. It's a makeup technique based on color theory. When everyone started to like discover it, and you know, brands like Revolution were bringing out those like for like AliExpress color correcting pans and stuff, the colors were just very slightly off. Color correction under eyes, not color correction under eyes. Now, one thing, let's talk about concealer, color correction, things like that. One thing makeup cannot do is even out your skin in terms of depth, right? If that was the case, I would put makeup on my nose and flatten my nose. One thing makeup isn't going to do is plump up this area here and smooth this out so shadows aren't caused, right? You can definitely put something lighter up here, but then we're just putting on more makeup. For example, if you were going to cover a spot but it's slightly raised, yes, you can neutralize the color, but you're still going to see the bump is what I'm talking about. So you can't put makeup on and expect your skin to go flat and smooth. That's not what makeup does. The person who makes a makeup product that instantly tightens the face is going to be rich beyond their wildest dreams. So you're still going to get a bit of shadow because light exists, right? But the skin tone is even, and that's what we want to go for. You can then do whatever tricks and stuff you want to do under the eye there. My one concern with when people do color correction, the way you kind of see it online, is that they're using way too much product. And ideally with makeup, you don't want to put too much product underneath your main base because your foundation needs to be able to grip onto your skin. So the more product that is underneath your foundation, skincare, whatever it is, the less skin your foundation has to grip onto. So when I'm saying to push that product, the color corrector, into the skin and make it part of the skin, that's because you want it to be so flat against the skin, but still making, you know, still getting good use from a product, but your foundation is also able to grip onto that skin. So if color correction isn't working for you because you just have too much stuff on your face, you can't color the color correction product, then you're using too much or it's a wrong tone. Think about where your skin tone is. Imagine a chart of your skin tone, light to dark, dark to light, and then do the same thing with the color correction tone. Start off with a light peach in terms of color corrector, start off with a fair skin tone and work your way up, getting darker and darker so the tone matches the color correction until you have a deeper tone and you're on pure red. I hope that makes sense. If that didn't make any sense, let me know down below. If you have any questions about color correction, let me know down below. I just wanted to put it out there because I still see people doing the entertainment way of color correction, and it really isn't the best, most effective way to do it. And please, if you're color correcting and you think you need loads of color corrector, you don't. You don't need as much as you think you do. Just keep working it into the skin, push, tap, until it neutralizes that area. And it may not be exactly the same tone, but once it's a little bit more neutral, then you're good to go with your other products. All right, thank you so much for joining me. Give this video a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.